Here are 8 ways that the state of Illinois makes it a pain in the ass for you to be a concealed carry licensee. My name is Joe Malone, concealed carry trainer. So everybody knows that Illinois doesn't like guns. They don't want people carrying guns. We have the strictest gun laws in the whole country. They even take away the ability to own rifles. But what a lot of people don't know is all of the small hidden ways that the state of Illinois really makes it difficult for you whenever you are going through the process, so that it ultimately deters you and makes you not want to go through all the hoops that you have to go through in order to carry a gun. So here are the 8 ways that I have found, and I'll also give you guys some resolution as to how you can combat those, or at least how we do over here at JM Training. So hopefully it can help you out in actually being able to protect yourself, your family, your loved ones, and not feeling overwhelmed by the system. Number 1 is the length of time for the class. It's a 16-hour course, which is some of the strictest requirements in the entire country. They've done the studies where they know that you will do 1 day of class or 4 hours of a class, no problem. But would you really be willing to do 2 complete full work days of training just so you can get your concealed carry license? A lot of people will say no, or they'll start it, but then they'll get busy so they don't finish day 2, for example, or perhaps they just don't even show up for the class at all, even though they've already paid for it. So now they're deterred. They had a bad experience. They don't ever want to have to deal with anything concealed carry related ever again. And so the 16-hour requirement is so long that most people in itself will just not do it. They'll opt out against it. Now, if you're a veteran, you can apply for an 8-hour waiver. But honestly, guys, 90% of veterans, I encourage you to take the full class, okay? If you have not trained around handguns regularly by a professional, not like you were raised around guns your whole life, guys, real stuff here, okay? There's legalities behind this. So make sure that if you have not been trained very proficiently on firearms, and I mean this seriously, then you should just take the full 16-hour class. It's boring as hell, guys. There is some stuff that will be redundant, but ultimately it's a great foundation for you to get refreshed and up some skills and learn some new things so that you actually will be light years ahead of everybody else around you, not just take the 8-day class and be on par. So the length of the period of time, guys, is the first thing that they do. Now, what can we do to combat this? Well, one thing that I've discovered is I like to keep things as flexible as possible for people. So as long as you're doing it in sequence of day 1 and day 2, because there is a methodology, there are legal requirements as to what needs to be taught to you all throughout that period of time, that 16 hours mandate. So as long as you take them in sequence, I'm fine with you having to reschedule or come back or maybe miss half of the second day and then come back for a half of a second day later on. I try to keep it as open as possible because I get life happens and I know the state does this on purpose. So if you think you're struggling with time or you're worried about the lack of flexibility and the no refund policies that everybody has, then just reach out to me and I'll do my best to guide you or possibly even help you out if I can. Way number 2 that the state of Illinois makes it a pain in the ass for you to be a concealed carry holder. There is a 90-day approval waiting period. So once you take the concealed carry course, I give you a certificate. With that certificate, we either upload it to your system for you, or you upload it to your system being a portal where it's ispfsb.com. You go in there, you create a portal for your concealed carry license. This is where you submit your paperwork, the certificate that I give you, and whatever other credentials they ask you for. That's where you'll pay them a $150 fee, which is another way. They're very expensive compared to all other states. So $150 is another way that they make it a little bit difficult for people. But I digress too. Once you submit that certificate to the state of Illinois, then they have 90 days to either approve or deny your license. And if there's anything wrong with your paperwork, for example, I had a student who called me and he forgot to put his middle initial on his certificate, but because of his FOID card, which is the firearms owner identification card that you carry in the state of Illinois just to even own firearms or purchase ammunition. Side story is I got back from Iraq in 2016 with MARSOC. It was my second MARSOC deployment. It was my 5th or 6th deployment. And I went to go shooting with the woman who's now my mother-in-law. I forgot my FOID card because I forgot that was even a thing. And I had my military ID, but the woman at Walmart would not give me ammunition. And I literally just got back from Iraq like 2 days ago. Like I got caught in O'Hare Airport on a holiday weekend where I literally came just from Iraq that morning. And then I asked my first sergeant if I could roll out for the holiday weekend. He said, just be back by Tuesday or whatever it was. And so now here I am trying to go shooting and I can't even buy ammunition. And I was just dealing with millions and millions of rounds like a few days prior. So anyways, and hand grenades and rockets. But so the FOID card his certificate did not have the exact same name. He forgot his middle initial, so they denied it. They waited till day 89 to deny him. And that's what the problem with this is that they have 90 days to approve or deny. They'll wait till the very last day before they tell you, hey, your license has been denied because of this administrative error. Please correct it. So now you resubmit that certificate, and guess what? You got to wait another 90 days. Now, there are ways to supposedly expedite this process. You can get fingerprinted. You go to a live scan person, they call it live scan, and it's like, I guess, a live scan of your finger. Even if you've been fingerprinted for security or a million other things before, you still need to get fingerprinted for this specific thing. It's the way that they silo off these types of fingerprints, and the systems never talk to each other because now you have to pay about another $75 on average. And it's not even guaranteed to expedite the process. I hear often that it does, but especially during the COVID years, as stupid as that was, people were not getting expedited at all. I heard that has changed and they're doing that again, which is why I have a couple of women come into the classroom so that they can fingerprint people who want to be fingerprinted. What's the time frame? They say it'll probably cut it in half, but nobody can make that guarantee except for Illinois State Police. So how do we combat this 90-day approval process? We offer to submit people's paperwork for them. I have an assistant. She's awesome at it. She's been doing it for years. She knows all the tricks, all the weird warning labels and how to find your username and password and all that stuff. And she will do it all for you. And then we guarantee that it'll get processed. The other way that we do this is, if you want to, get fingerprinted. Another benefit to being fingerprinted, and I'm not advocating for this necessarily at all, I have to be fingerprinted regardless because I'm an instructor, but you as the concealed carry licensee do not have to get fingerprinted. But when you do, every time that you update your concealed carry license or every time that you purchase a firearm, your FOID automatically renews for another 10 years because your FOID is for 10 years, your concealed carry license is for 5 years. That's another way they do it. They make this confusing as hell. And so anyways, guys, that's how we can combat that 90-day approval process, is have somebody, a professional, submit the paperwork for you, and or if you choose to, get fingerprinted to expedite that process. Now, the next way they make this a pain in the ass is because if you have any problems, there's nobody you can call. There's a phone number on their website. I have never gotten through on that phone number ever, and I've called it probably, I don't know, 5 times, and only 5 times because we're talking 5 times where I literally would just let it sit while I'm working, and it went for like 4.5 hours once. So that's crazy. I have had students in recent months get a hold of them because they called them right as they opened, but having nobody answer the phone call to ever give you any reason as to why anything is not working is definitely a way that they slow down the process and deter people from wanting to be concealed carry licensees. So how do we combat that? Well, you hopefully don't have any problems in your paperwork. You don't get revoked, you don't get denied. But if you do, there are people that I could introduce you to who can help you out with that stuff. I honestly don't even know if they charge or not for it. I'm pretty sure that they probably do. And if I were you, I'd definitely pay them for their time. But I could at least contact you with some people who deal with this on a regular basis with a lot of people who've got either prior criminal records or who are currently dealing with something. He has done this a lot. I would beg to say over 100 times, maybe way more than that. And so if you need help with that because you got denied or your FOID was revoked, anything like that, feel free to reach out and I can hopefully connect you or network you with the right people. The next way that Illinois makes this a big pain in the ass is they don't put the expiration date on your concealed carry license. So how do you find your expiration date? Going back to that ispfsb.com website, your portal that I was telling you about, there is where you will find the expiration date and your whenever you need to renew. That's also where you will submit your renewal information. And so one way to combat this, I tell people, is get a permanent marker, take your concealed carry license, log into your portal, and then write on the back of the license what that expiration date is. It expires 5 years from, I don't know, it's either the date of approval or the day you submitted the cert. So that's the other way that they make this a pain in the ass because it's confusing. People lose track of it, and you will get arrested for, I think it's like aggravated use. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's almost like a class 4 felony if your FOID if you're carrying concealed with only a FOID card because your concealed carry license expired because you didn't know when that expiration date was. So write it on the back, guys. That's how you can combat that. Fifth way Illinois makes this a pain in the ass for you guys is the prohibited areas. When you're going through the class, we are mandated as instructors to teach you guys a certain set of curriculum, and a lot of that is all about prohibited areas, of course. And Illinois makes this super confusing because we're a cast doctrine state, but it only applies to the confines of the dwelling. We're not a stand your ground or duty to retreat state. It's like this ambiguous in the middle, although based off case precedent, my lawyer tells me, who's an awesome guy, Dave McDermott. If you guys don't know who he is, he just talked to Congress yesterday. Pretty badass. If I have the link, maybe I'll put it in the description somewhere. But he was saying, based off case precedent, Illinois is a stand your ground state. So you see how it's already just so confusing in terms of like what you can do and when you can do it. Keep this in mind though, guys. Prohibited areas, and I'm not ever advocating for somebody to break the law, but prohibited areas do not negate your ability to defend yourself with deadly force when justified. Now, I'm not telling you to break the law, because you will get arrested, you will get a Class A misdemeanor. They will C&D, confiscate and destroy your gun, especially if it's in Cook County. Ask me how I know, story for another time. But realize that prohibited areas can be very confusing and people get overwhelmed and they just don't even want to carry, or they make a mistake and they get caught and they end up paying the price for it, paying the actual penalty, literally for it. So how do we combat against this confusion? Well, the first thing is have insurance. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. I brokered the craziest deal with the USCCA where you could literally get their membership for free, absolutely 100% for free when you train with me. So if you want information on that, then hit me up, because I'm telling you guys, it's going to blow up, and it is, in my opinion, the greatest firearms training program out there when it comes to concealed carry and self-defense and personal safety. Anyway, that's the first way, is because they will give you legal coverage if you ever have to use your weapon in that prohibited area, because maybe just whatever happened and you're there and now all of a sudden you have to use your weapon. You definitely don't want to get caught without representation. Somebody like Dave McDermott, who represents more self-defense cases than any other attorney in the entire country right now, which is why he's talking to Congress. You don't want that guy to, one, pay him what his actual fee and retainer are. You want him to be pro bono because you're a member of our training program. And you definitely don't want to not have that representation immediately if you use a weapon in a prohibited area against a real threat and you do it justified. You're just in a prohibited place. So that's the first way you can combat that. Two is certainty. So a lot of instructors will give you their opinions on stuff. I don't give you my opinion unless I explicitly say it. I give you advice from my attorney, Dave McDermott, like I just said a minute ago. Him and I have talked about this stuff at length and nauseum. We've got like 4 hours of pre-recorded legal counsel and speaking engagements and footage and interviews with Dave and me in the Lethality University online platform, which in itself is worth thousands of dollars. So you want to make sure that you have that representation, and you want to make sure you have certainty as to where you can go and not go, which also brings me to my next point, is how we can combat this. Well, we do that in the training, by the way. Also, we make sure that you have absolute clarity on where you can and cannot carry based off of legal guidance from my attorney solely. So then what we want to do is have tools and resources available. So something that I can actually click on, like a phone app, that tells me as I go from state to state where I can and cannot carry. Are rest stops allowed? Are parks allowed? Are vehicles allowed, etc.? Where can and cannot carry? So we have the legal representation when things go awry. We have the initial training and education, and then we have the ongoing training and education. And then if you honestly want a 24/7 live resource, then you join the Lethality University. That's what we run over at JM Training for personal protection. Because we believe those capable of great lethality are capable of preserving great peace. Amazing group of people in the Chicagoland area, over 200 members. So you get access in that to a group chat and a community platform. You get to ask the question and you get real answers back from people at the highest level of qualification. So you're getting real-time answers in real-time problems or future problems. And with absolute certainty, you're not being led astray because everybody's vetted and highly, highly credentialed and qualified. So that's how we combat the confusion behind prohibited areas, guys, to encourage you to actually carry on or about your person after you get licensed. The next way that they make this difficult is, kind of already touched on it, confusing laws. So Illinois differs from a lot of other states. We can carry a FOID carry on public transportation, meaning the gun's broken down, ammunition stored separately, separate container, but we can't conceal carry on a public transportation in the state of Illinois. We can't go to rest stops concealed carrying. We can't go to some forest preserves, but we can go to others. Every place that you would need a gun in the state of Illinois is like a prohibited area, and even if it's a law that ultimately grants you the right of self-defense, you're still going to be wondering if you acted in a justified context. And there's 3 main times when you can use deadly force in the state of Illinois. That's how we combat this, is we simplify this information to be the most basic level so that there's no confusion. It's like in defense of myself, in defense of others, in defense of my home while inhabitants are present inside of it. Well, how do I know when I can defend somebody else? Well, imminent death or great bodily harm, like you reasonably believe that. Fear is not a factor. Reasonable belief of imminent danger and death or great bodily harm. And if the other person would be able to use deadly force in that case, but can't for whatever reason, they're incapacitated or whatnot, you by way of proxy can use it for them. Okay, cool. That's it. That's it. Plain and simple. So we simplify these laws so that if I can understand them, anybody can definitely understand them. That's how we combat that, guys, to really grow certainty so that you're defending yourself with absolute certainty. The 7th way they make this difficult is hidden red flag laws. Illinois is trying to pass some shady stuff right now, guys, where basically if you go to like I don't know if this is exactly what it is, but it's like if you go to the gynecologist, they could say, oh, you're red flagged and we don't think this person should own a firearm. Some crazy stuff like that is what's going on within state legislation. And the unfortunate part is that, as a state representative once told me, if you're on the opposing side, you're basically just a seat placeholder for the next election. And hopefully you guys can maintain that seat and hopefully hang on long enough to where the insanity stops and we start representing more balanced sides of each party into the state Congress. And so this isn't going to go away. Just be aware of that. Also, how do we combat this? Having legal representation who helps us with this, which is what we do at JM Training with your free USCCA membership. That like it's all covered where they will help you through those red flag laws so that you can fight against them if some doctor or some random neighbor or something pulls some BS on you and they come to take away your gun. So that's how we combat that one, guys. And then lastly, you're going to forget what you learned, especially if you're new to firearms, even if you're not that new. Everybody learns something in our class, regardless of your experience level. And that just comes from all my years of experience at a very high optimal level in terms of like proficiency and science and application and all that stuff. So 90 days is going to go by from the time you finish that class until when you get your license, if it all goes smooth. You are going to forget 99% of what you learned in this 16-hour fire hose. Like, the amount of information you get is still below baseline minimum, in my opinion, but it's still a lot very quickly, and you're jaded, you're tired, etc., especially if the trainers aren't good. But even if they're great like we are, and we're engaging, and we make you do things, you're still going to forget about 80% of that class. So how do we combat all of this? Well, the first thing is we simplify to a couple of main tasks. One, you're going to learn the most important weapons manipulation skill. And 2, you're going to learn the single most important thing about all firearms handling ever in life, and that's the weapon safety rules. So if you take away those 2 points, you can lock the slide to the rear, most important thing for weapons manipulation. And if you can memorize and apply those weapon safety rules, that's a huge win. You're going to be so safe with guns for the rest of your life. Straight up, plain and simple, as long as you're continuously practicing those. Now, the other way that we combat this is we've started to offer a refresher training course. So after the second day of your concealed carry class, what we're going to tell people is, look, at day 40 and at day 80, if you guys want, you can sign up for a refresher class. It's like a half a day. It's like a day of training, like 6 hours. And what we're going to do is just go to the gun range, refresh on some things, then we'll go to the gun range and we'll shoot a little bit more advanced course of fire. We really just want to re-amplify your confidence that you left the class with that day as your concealed carry license is coming in, because you're going to forget a lot in between. You're not going to feel confident. You're not going to want to carry. And that's what the state wants. They want you to be confused and not feeling confident and comfortable. So we begun offering these refresher classes, 40 for people who got fingerprinted, 80 days after for people who didn't, or you could do both, whatever, I don't care. That way you are going into this with some steam, with some momentum, and you're going to learn a lot just by reinforcing it that one day, because the vast majority of people never even take a second class after their initial concealed carry course, except for the legally obliged refresher every 5 years. But that's stupid. Don't do that. This is the smart way to go. Take the class, take advantage of a discounted refresher class right before your license comes in. So you're just moving with positive energy. You're moving with confidence. You're moving with steam and momentum into getting your license, and you're immediately going to start carrying on your person, and you're actually going to be that much more closer to using it in a very defensive context. And so that's how we combat that one, guys. All right. I hope that that helps you understand the system in Illinois. Whether you live here and you can navigate it a little bit better, or at least now you know somebody who can help you navigate that a little better, reach out to me if you want help with that. Or if you live out of the state, you guys now are starting to see, like, from the inside, what it is that people are always complaining about when it comes to the state of Illinois being so difficult to be a firearms owner in. And so hopefully that helps you guys out. If you want more information, joemalonetraining.com, or hit me up on Instagram at joemalonetraining. And I wish you all the best. Stay positive. Always love your life, take care, see the best in things, but also have the ability to defend it, because those capable of great lethality are capable of preserving great peace.